There's been a lot of optimism and energy in this room tonight, considering this could be one of the tightest Senate races in Nebraska history, with Dan Osborne, who's a union leader, running as an independent against Republican Deb Fischer, who has been in office since 2013. We want to direct your attention to the snow that has fallen. It's about 4 inches, and after talking with the Crow Wing County Sheriff, they said, we want people to be cautious because it looks pretty on the top, but underneath there's still some black sheets of ice. As you can see, the tow trucks, and there's still some men in the ditches looking for some other debris. But what we were told so far by Sheriff Unger is that one person was airlifted. We do not know the extremes of their injuries. We have many firefighters who are up there doing their best to distinguish what has been confirmed so far as a fire. What kind of fire so far, we're not sure, but they have evacuated all staff and nurses. Holding a snake like Gordy here was definitely not on my bucket list of things to hold. But one thing that Will said that I thought was cool was how they go to acquire these reptiles, which is through rescue. Yes, Dennis, right now I'm in the town of Randall, and the fire department here has received funding from Sourcewell that has given them new turnout gear. As you can see on me right now, I have one of the old jackets that was just worn out and way past its use. Scott Jensen, once senator, now Dr. Jensen, is here at Brainerd Airport, where he just arrived just a few short minutes ago to tell the Minnesota people what his agenda exactly is. Looking at this, it seems like it's a video game. But after talking with Breezy Point's mayor and being put through the simulator, she said it's like being put through a real-world situation, and she hopes to see more of these in more police departments. If you're looking to try fat biking like me, the key is not to overdress, because you will be working out and you will get sweaty.
The goal here is to keep more people safe from what we now contemplate as accidents.
Representative Jamie Becker-Finn is directing attention to House File 396 that says, for this purpose, reasonable action requires a firearm to be stored unloaded with a locking device and separately from its ammunition. This has sparked a number of conversations among county sheriffs and concerned Republicans.
Concerned me about the, government basically intruding into people's private residences, and that's the only way. There's no other way to enforce the law than to be going into people's houses and verifying if their weapons are all locked up.
What this does, it takes away the gun owner's right to know that there's even a process going on until they knock on his door and take the guns, and then he has to prove his innocence to be able to get his gun back, and it's backwards from what our laws and our Constitution says.
Area legislators held a town hall meeting at the Bemidji Eagles Club last weekend to express their opposition to the bill.
It's overreach by the state government. People want to feel safe and secure in their own homes, and this is just stepping over the bounds. And our local folks, you could tell today the passion was there, and they're not happy with this.
And Sheriff Halverson says criminals do not always follow the law.
They're not going to make sure their weapons are all locked up and secured, but if one of them broke into your house and you had to have your weapons secured in a safe, there's not the time to call a timeout and go to your safe and open it up and get your gun out.
If you are in your home and the weapon is under your control, Representative Becker-Finn says this law doesn't apply to you.
This is contemplating primarily when you aren't home or when you aren't in the same room, ways to make sure that that weapon isn't accessible and unsafe.
The Crow Wing County Sheriff says there are already existing laws that help with this issue.
609.666 is negligence storage of a firearm that they could revert back to. So we don't need new laws. We can use the ones that we have existing, and that's one of them that we could use.
Representative Matt Bliss and Senator Steve Green are telling their constituents to oppose House File 396 by contacting elected officials.
Our government is a by the people, for the people, and of the people, and we now need the people to step up and let the governor know, let the attorney general know their thoughts and feelings on these gun laws.
I would say get involved. Just discuss these things, and during the time when these bills are coming up for hearings, come down to St. Paul and voice their opinion.
Representative Jamie Becker-Finn said, our criminal statutes is how we communicate to the public on how we determine what kind of behavior is acceptable if we want to move forward and have a safer society for all.
By lifting this up by having it on the news, by talking about this legislation, that folks will be more aware of what appropriate way of storing your guns is, so that we don't run into a situation where accidents, but they're completely preventable, and it's due to the behavior of adults who aren't being careful.
After 9 long months of pregnancy, the bags were packed, the car seat on standby, and finally, 2 energetic boys had fallen asleep. But around 4 a.m., Erica told her husband, "I think the baby is coming now."
By the time my husband had put me in the pickup, my water had broke, and we got about a half mile down the road. Told him to call 911, and dispatcher, kind of helped us realize, like, you have to deliver the baby now.
He said his wife was having a contraction and there was something coming out of her. I was like, that's probably the head. Let's go ahead and pull over and we can deliver the baby.
By the time I hit the brakes and could get around the pickup and open up the door and you see a baby in her arms, and it's a quick relief, but then it's still into go mode. I know we need to get to the hospital.
Assisted by both Madison and Norfolk police to the hospital, Erica expresses her gratitude towards the dispatch and to all who were quickly involved.
Dispatcher, she had already had all the labor and delivery nurses were notified. They had my pickup door open before we even were in park. So she had everything kind of ready, and everybody was ready to go and make sure that everything was good.
Giving birth to a 7-pound, 11-ounce baby girl who measured 20.5 inches long, Erica tells us the name and why it's so near and dear to her heart.
Drew Bernadette. Bernadette is my mom's middle name, and then it was her grandma's middle name. So I always wanted to use the name Bernadette, so I'm glad I got a girl to use it.
From a situation that turned out so fun and beautiful, you had mentioned that your job can be tough at times. What is it that you hope that other people can take away from this story and understand why your job is so important?
Sometimes we do have a bad day. That doesn't mean every single moment of that day is going to be bad. We do deal with some stressful things that kind of incorporate sometimes to other calls, but I think overall, we do care a lot about the community and the people around here, and that's really what we want to do is help.
Reported in Madison County, Hanky Hazelton, News Channel, Nebraska. That is ding-dong ditching, a harmless game depending on who you ask. Oftentimes, children like to play it if they're bored, or let's be honest, they just want to be a kid. But this story is different, involving Jackson Prill, who isn't afraid to be caught. And unbeknownst to him, his approach leaves smiles and inspiration to millions all over the internet.
You matter, all right? There's always going to be somebody that cares about you. And you're a good person. No matter what people say, you matter.
Watching it amazed me, and I wanted to post it because, one, more people needed to see it, and 2, more people needed to hear it.
I've always kind of tried to do that, maybe not as direct, but just kind of if somebody's feeling down, I might go talk to them or whatever, just kind of keep it not so obvious.
Despite living less than a block away from one another, the pair had only met over Zoom until now, and took the opportunity to share how it made Jackson feel and the impact Ashley continues to see with it all.
The comments that were coming out of it, that there was a lot of things going on in their life. There was a few people that were talking about taking their life and how it just changed their perspective. So it was more of just like that initial shock, but then it was also like kind of exciting to see how big it was growing.
Happy, proud, but I don't feel like, oh yeah, I'm famous now. I'm just going with it. I'm not trying to get famous or something. Just riding the waves, I guess.
You never know what somebody's going through. I mean, you could see that person that's on the street having a very difficult time, and you can either judge them or you can think, hey, they're really going through a rough patch. Like, maybe I can help them with something.
There is always going to be somebody that cares about you, and if somehow there's not, there will be someone, and you don't have to change, and somebody will like you for who you are, even if it's just one person in the almost 8 billion people in this world. Just don't change for someone.